I was out to dinner last night with a group of lawyers, and they were estate planning attorneys who don't handle Medicaid planning. So I was talking to one particular lawyer, and he asked a very interesting question. He said, I know that in Florida, your homestead is generally not considered to be an asset, but that there is an equity limit. I said, that's true. And that equity limit right now is $730,000. So if your home, as just a simple example, if your home is worth $800,000, but you have $100,000 mortgage, that's $700 in equity, you're still good. But if you have an $800,000 home and no mortgage, that's over the $730,000 limit. That's as of 2025. That number increases usually once a year. Right now it's $730,000. So essentially, this attorney was saying, listen, we have cities like, a great example is Miami Shores. And this can apply anywhere in Florida, but Miami Shores is a city where the homes have gone up. They're not huge homes usually, but they've gone up tremendously in value because location. It's near a bunch of things. And so there are these, little homes that are worth $700,000, $800,000, $900,000 that were purchased for $30,000 or $40,000 in 1979, right? That we see that a lot. So his point was, what do you do when you have a client who is otherwise eligible for Medicaid? Their income's not too high. They really don't have that much by way of assets, or, they have a couple $100,000. And he goes, I know, Jason, you're able to protect that, but what do you do if after you protect their money, or if they have nothing, but it's just their home is worth more than $730,000, or there's more than $730K in equity? Is that a done deal, and are they just prevented from applying for Medicaid? And I said, that's a great question, and the answer is, of course, no. We almost always will have a solution to any of these sorts of problems. So some common ways around the home equity limit are, well, first of all, we point out that if there is a spouse or a dependent child who is living in the home, then there is no equity limit. In other words, if there's a married couple or a dependent child living in the home along with the Medicaid applicant, whether the Medicaid applicant is soon going to a facility or not, then the home can be worth $5 million and Medicaid can't say anything about it. But let's say you don't have that. Let's say there's a single individual who lives in a home worth $850,000 with no mortgage, and they don't have they're single, and they don't have a dependent or disabled child living in the home. We still have some more options. Well, one of them is if you list the property for sale, while that sale is pending, then Medicaid will not count it as an asset. But you do have to accept reasonable offer. So we really only want to do that if, for example, my client's moving into a facility and they need to sell the house because there's no one to pay for the upkeep or the taxes. And then we have different ways of protecting significant amounts of money when that sale occurs. That's one option. Another option, if they don't want to sell their home, is they can take out equity. In other words, if they have an $800,000 home with no mortgage and they take out $70,000, we now are down to the $730,000 equity limit, and I can protect $70,000 using another Medicaid planning tool. And then finally, there is what's the kind of the catch-all, and again, we don't love using this a lot, but it is available and it can make a lot of sense to use in certain scenarios, which is you can claim undue hardship. In other words, the great example is this Miami Shores example, where again, these are very modest homes, and in many parts of Miami Shores, there are, solid middle class, solid working class, really good people who really don't have a lot of wealth. They happen to buy into a very desirable neighborhood, and so their house is worth a lot of money, but they don't otherwise have disposable income. And that would be I think a very successful argument to say, listen, it would be unfair to deny my client Medicaid because look at what they have in their bank account. They're making, $2,300 a month from Social Security, and they just happen to live in a home worth $800,000. And that is not a good reason to deny them the ability to qualify for home care benefits. So there's that undue hardship exception as well. So again, what I do is I work with people who typically are not eligible for Medicaid because they have too much by way of income, they have too much by way of assets. There are all these sort of interesting hurdles that can get in our way, but almost 99% of the time, we have a legal and ethical solution to get our client access to these benefits so they don't have to sell their house, they don't have to wait 5 years, they don't have to go broke first. If you found this video interesting, please share it with your friends and family. Please give it a thumbs up. Help me get good information out to Floridians anywhere. And of course, if you are anywhere in the state of Florida or thinking of coming to Florida, feel free to give us a call and set up a consultation. Thank you for watching.